The morning sun barely broke over the rooftops of a quiet Georgia suburb when Jim Callahan, a 92-year-old World War II veteran, stepped onto his porch. His movements were slow, burdened by age, his once steady hands now trembling, relics of a life that had seen too much war. Leaning on his cane, he inhaled the crisp air, savoring a fleeting moment of peace. Then he saw it, a stark white paper taped to his front door. The bold black letters hit him like a punch: notice of eviction due to HOA violations. Jim stared, his arthritic fingers clutching the paper. The words blurred, not from age but from disbelief. Unapproved roof repairs. Failure to maintain lawn standards. A bitter laugh escaped him. Unapproved repairs? He patched a leak himself because the HOAs, approved contractors, never showed. Lawn standards? At 92, mowing his yard was a war of its own. He'd stormed Normandy, watched men die in the freezing mud, and now he was being evicted over this. A slow clap echoed across the street. Jim turned to see Paul Decker, the HOA president, standing on his pristine lawn, a smirk twisting his lips. In his late 40s, with a golf tan and an air of smug superiority, Decker was the kind of man who'd never known real hardship. "Rules are rules, Jim," he said, his voice smooth, rehearsed. "You should have paid the fines." Thousands in penalties had piled up, each a calculated move to force Jim out. He tried to fight, called written letters, but every appeal met a cold, bureaucratic wall. "Where am I supposed to go?" Jim asked, his voice low but steady. Decker shrugged. "Shelters in the city. Or maybe a veteran program." He waved a hand dismissively, as if Jim were a stain on his perfect neighborhood. Neighbors peeked from windows, some who'd known Jim for years, who'd heard his war stories on this very porch. But now they looked away. Siding with him meant crossing the HOA, and no one wanted to be next. Jim exhaled, turning back to his house, the home he'd built, where his late wife's laughter once echoed. He wanted to scream, to fight. Instead, he stepped off the porch, his cane tapping the pavement as he walked away. A man who'd fought for his country was now homeless, not by war or fate, but by greed. The sky bled orange as Jim settled onto a weathered park bench, pulling a tattered military blanket around his shoulders. The night air bit through the thin fabric, sinking into his bones. He'd survived brutal winters in 1944, shivering in trenches with only willpower keeping him alive. But this was different. No enemy to fight, no comrades to lean on, just silence and shame. Passers-by avoided him. A couple glanced, then hurried away. A man walking his dog veered wide. To them, Jim wasn't a person anymore, just an obstacle in their perfect suburb. Hunger gnawed at his stomach. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. His meager savings bought a bottle of water and a stale sandwich yesterday. Now weakness seeped in. A coughing fit racked his chest, forcing him to clutch his ribs, wheezing. Something heavier than exhaustion pressed down, suffocating. Night fell. Jim curled against the bench, fingers tracing his worn dog tags. J. Callahan, U.S. Army. A cold gust cut through, and he pulled the blanket tighter, but it couldn't stop the chill inside. This was his reality now, not a nightmare, but the end of his story. The world would move on, as if he'd never existed. The next morning, Jim tried to walk. 2 blocks in, his vision swam, the pavement tilting. His chest tightened, breath ragged. His knees buckled. He hit the sidewalk, barely hearing a voice call. "Sir, are you okay?" He wanted to say he'd survived worse, but the world slipped away. For the first time, James Callahan couldn't fight. The ER buzzed with controlled chaos, beeping monitors, hurried voices. When Jim was wheeled in, barely conscious, he was just another John Doe. No family, no ID, no address. Paramedics found him collapsed, suffering severe dehydration, malnutrition, and early pneumonia. His body was shutting down. Nurse Sarah Mitchell flipped through his intake form, pausing at the words, "James Callahan, 92, homeless, U.S. Army veteran." He's a war hero, she muttered, disbelief turning to anger. She'd seen hardship in the ER, but this was a new kind of wrong. Sitting beside Jim's bed, she saw his sunken eyes flicker open, clouded with exhaustion and shame. He wouldn't meet her gaze. Mr. Callahan, is there anyone we can call? Sarah asked softly. He shook his head. No family. No one. Fury rose in her chest. This man had stormed Normandy, sacrificed his youth, and now he was discarded. She pulled out her phone, snapped a photo of Jim, frail, oxygen mask on, dog tags around his neck, and typed, "This hero fought for our country. Now he's homeless because of a greedy HOA." She hit the post. The world ignited. By Sarah's next shift, her post had 50,000 shares. By morning, it was trending nationwide. News outlets pounced. Veterans groups demanded answers. The hashtag Justice for Jim trended as donations and legal offers flooded the hospital. Other homeowners shared horror stories, retirees forced out, disabled veterans harassed over petty violations. This wasn't just about Jim, it was America's failure to protect its heroes. The Maple Ridge HOA office was in chaos. Phones rang nonstop. Are you the ones who threw a war hero out? Click. How do you sleep at night? Click. Paul Decker sipped coffee, smirking. Let them talk, he told his frazzled receptionist. It'll blow over. It didn't. News vans swarmed the office. Reporters cornered board members. Why was a World War II veteran evicted over minor violations? Veterans, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, gathered outside, signs reading HOA, homeowners oppressing Americans and no veteran left behind. A petition to oust Decker hit 100,000 signatures in a day. Then Decker made his fatal mistake. At a press conference, a reporter asked, "Do you regret evicting Mr. Callahan?" Decker sighed. "It's unfortunate, but rules are rules." The crowd gasped. "So, rules justify throwing a hero onto the streets?" the reporter pressed. Decker shrugged. "Rules are rules." The internet exploded. Clips of Decker's callous words went viral, his face a symbol of greed. A GoFundMe for Jim, started by retired Marine Tom Reynolds, aimed for $50,000. In hours, it hit $250,000. By morning, $1 million. Celebrities, politicians, even the Secretary of Veterans Affairs weighed in. The Georgia governor condemned the HOA. Then the Pentagon called. Decker had no idea what was coming. The Department of Veterans Affairs denounced the HOA, demanding a policy review. The governor launched a state inquiry. But the real blow came when the Pentagon ordered the FBI to investigate. Within 24 hours, a task force uncovered a sickening pattern. Maple Ridge HOA targeted elderly homeowners with petty fines, chipped paint, unapproved flowers, then imposed crippling legal fees. Unable to pay, owners lost their homes to foreclosure auctions, flipped for profit. Millions had been siphoned, some into Decker's accounts, some to bribe officials. FBI agents stormed the HOA office, seizing records and arresting Decker and 3 board members. "You're under arrest for fraud, elder abuse, and conspiracy," an agent snapped, cuffing Decker. His smugness crumbled. "I was following protocol," he stammered. The agent scoffed. "Tell it to the jury." Outside, the crowd cheered as Decker was led away in cuffs. In the hospital, Jim lay unaware of the wildfire his story had sparked. His body was healing, but his spirit was broken. Then Tom Reynolds walked in. "Mr. Callahan, you're getting your home back," he said. Jim's breath caught. "How?" Reynolds grinned. "Because America doesn't abandon its heroes." Tears welled in Jim's eyes. For the first time, he wasn't invisible. Days later, an SUV driven by veterans pulled onto Jim's street. Hundreds lined the road, cheering, holding signs, "Welcome home, Jim." His house stood restored, fence fixed, paint fresh, lawn pristine. Veterans saluted. A man in a wheelchair shook his hand. "Welcome home, brother." A neighbor, Linda Harris, who'd once ignored his eviction, stepped forward. "I'm sorry, Jim." He nodded slowly. "Some lessons take time." On his porch, a microphone in hand, Jim spoke. "I fought wars before. This was another. But this time, I didn't fight alone." The crowd roared. In court, Decker's empire collapsed. Charged with fraud, elder abuse, and conspiracy, he faced a packed courtroom. The judge's voice was steel. "For your crimes against this community, you're sentenced to 50 years. The gavel fell. Decker's face drained of color. The HOA was dismantled, its assets liquidated, and millions returned to victims. New laws, the Callahan Act, curbed HOA power, banning predatory fines and protecting the elderly. A national program housed homeless veterans. The Pentagon and VA vowed no hero would be forgotten again. On a quiet morning, Jim sat on his porch, his rocking chair creaking, the American flag fluttering above. For the first time in years, he smiled. Justice was served. America hadn't forgotten him. But this story isn't just Jim's. It's a wake-up call. How many heroes are abandoned? How many HOAs abuse power? Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you faced HOA injustice? What does justice mean to you? Let's keep this conversation alive and fight for those who fought for us. Subscribe and hit the bell for more stories that spark change.